Yo, what is going on, you guys? Bash and Joe here, and today I got my boy Rob right here next to me. Say hi to nice people at home, Rob.
Hello, people at home. I forgot. I feel like I haven't done a discussion video in a while, so it's usually just like my mat or my cards. You never really see this beautiful face right here.
Right?
So
I think, have we done so? I think it's been a while. But
I feel
anyway,
like it's been a long time.
right? So today,
Very
guys,
long.
we're going to be talking about the Forbidden Limited list going to be coming out very, very soon. So nothing's necessarily been announced just yet because of it. There's no any immediate implications that we will be seeing this. Other than that, it's been about 2-3 months now. Last one we got was February 13th, which was, of course, about 2 months ago, exactly. A little bit over 2 months ago.
It's about to be 2 months.
It's about to be 2 months, yeah.
2 months.
It's about to be 2 months since we got our last list, so we are expected to see one most likely around May. So we're gonna go ahead and give you guys our thoughts of what we think is gonna get hit, come back to one semi-limited and completely off the ban list, just based on what, of course, we're seeing in the YCS 250th, we're seeing in regional tops here and there, and what we're seeing in the overall meta. So this is going to be a fun one for sure, but we're going to go ahead and, first of all, we're going to go ahead and discuss both of our immediate thoughts as far as what we think is going to be coming off the list, what we think is going to be going on the list, some of the immediate changes that him and I are seeing. Alright, so I'm going to go first.
Sounds
cool.
good to me.
So first things first, I think you and I agree on a lot of these, which is going to make this very, very easy for us. But for first things first, guys, I think Rob, you and I agree on this one, is that Mind Hacker is a very, very toxic card to the point where, let's be real here, okay? So I think, again, you and I agree on this as well, that when it comes to creating a ban list, the main thing that is the objective of it is to make the game a lot more fun and playable. So usually what that tries to do is just get rid of the most toxic deck in the room, the deck that no one wants to play against because it's absolute garbage gameplay or whatever it might be, or that is just taking a lot of the players to the curb, whatever, however you guys want to express that, right? So of course we have tier limit to deal with for a while, but we no longer really have that. And Cash Tier, while it has been consistently topping and has high representation and a high win rate, whatever it might be, has all these things going for it, there are so many counters to the deck. It is very, very glass cannon, I would say, to the point where you can play around everything, but it leaves you in a very mediocre board. So it leaves you always guessing as to should you play around Nibiru, should you play around Kurikara if you're able to, should you play around evenly matched, should you play around so many different things, and to the point where let's go ahead and go one by one, attack best decks moving down the line, right? So of course, Cashier being number one, I think Mind Hacker just has to go. It's just, I mean, what are your thoughts on Mind Hacker? I think it's just ridiculous how it just banishes like half your deck turn one.
So I think there's like the three problems with Mind Hacker is the ability to just look at your opponent's extra deck for free. It gives you immediate information on what your opponent's playing.
Right.
So there's no surprise factor. There's no mind factor. There's no like anything that's external outside of the game is just immediately thrown away because your opponent gets to look at your extra deck, know any text you're on, any whatever card you're playing, and knows what deck you're playing, so they know how to play accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the first one. The second one is being able to be what facilitates the multiple zone locks. Because if you make 2 stronger eras and you resolve a Diabolos, you're able to lock the zones. I feel like the Arise Heart is very reminiscent to a lot of people called it the new Trident. Trident was like in itself was fine. It's what was being surrounded with the Trident, with the Zodiac back in just those two drawing a bunch of cards. The Rise Heart pass are the most like manual rewards because that's what plays into most cards. Eclipse, Kurikara, talents, stuff like that. But the Diabolos makes it so that way you can never have, or you will get your zones locked. And so I feel like if you remove that card from Shira, the zone you never are gonna get your zone locked consistently, and you're never gonna get your zones locked for more than let's say 1 or 2. The Mind Hacker with conjunction with the Shangiras, it's what kind of like gives that multiple zone lock. And the other thing is like banishing cards is from the deck has always been a problem. It's being more recent now between like Kashtira and Runic. But banishing cards face down is possibly the worst mechanic besides getting your hand ripped. Because there's little to no interaction. So it makes you have to play like more copies of a card than you really want to. like Albaz decks playing like 3 Albaz when you kind of really want to play 2, or like the Sword Soul deck playing 3 Ecclesia because you don't really normally you play 2 or 2 Taya, you have to play, or instead of playing 1 Taya you have to play 2. So yeah, so that card I think is like one of the craziest things in Cash, and then like my other hits to Cash were like hit limiting Unicorn and limiting Shingira, because those are like the most like crazy obnoxious cards from the deck. You still make it playable because if you still have the 1 Unicorn, you are still able to facilitate plays. But and if you have the 1 Shingira,
there's so many cards to Cash Tier's arsenal that are still very, very good. Cash Tier Tearlament Cash Tier is still a good card. Cash Tier Ogre is not a bad card. And there's many other cards you can go ahead and use to, I guess, take the place of Unicorn. Game. You just need to play more Birth, which I think duelists are playing now anyway. They're playing more than 1 Birth just because the second it gets popped, you're like, oh snap! Like, what do I do? You know.
Also, Birth just lets you like that deck is very strong in what it does, and I think having that Zone Lock and Banishing face down, on top of it just puts it over the top. And I think like if you remove that from the equation, the deck becomes a lot more like solid and more fair, and less just like, oh, I didn't draw any interaction going second, I lose the game on the spot because I cannot play.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's Kashtira is like in the weird spot where like you can see what the problem cards are, and those are gonna be to like take care of, but they're not like crazy oppressive like past cards. So that's why thinking about what this ban list is going to be very weird, because you can do like what OCG has, and has like limited everything. So it's like Fenrir's at 1, Unicorn's at 1. I think possibly Theosis is at 1. I don't know if that one's true or not. I know for a fact Unicorn and Fenrir are at 1.
We have the OCG ban list right over here for us. Clutch.
Let's go.
So we can actually go ahead and check that out. Now, where is this in?
That is banned, I want to say.
Yeah, so they got nothing banned. We can go to limited. KKK. Yeah, Fenrir is limited. Unicorn is limited. And let's see.
Yeah, that's it. Fenrir is limited. Unicorn's limited, and none of this. And Planet is limited. Pressure Planet is also limited.
Yes.
So like that's another. So it's like a similar concept of just like hitting the consistency of the deck, which I think hopefully they should do. It's the next. So it's same timetable of last year. So I think we're gonna have a ban list closer to the YCS in May, the YCS Philly. So with Cyberstorm Access legal, so a lot of the cards that at least I'm talking about will be either pertaining to Cyberstorm Access or just like toxic stuff in general. But yeah, no, the Kashtira deck. So so that is one of the main what's it called? The main villains in the format that I feel like is being pretty bad. The other one that me and Sebastian both I forgot about, but then Sebastian reminded me, was Branded Expulsion.
The
Despia deck itself is it's very fair. Like the Mirror Jades and like the Fusion monsters, so it creates is very fair. This card being able to give your opponent a monster that locks you in multiple facets, being like the DDD guy, the Ross Disciple, now the Gimmick Puppet. Yeah. That card is also another floodgatey, not very good card to have, especially because it is a searchable card because of the Albion, the fusion monster being able to set a branded Swallow Trap during the end phase. So that's another thing that like that card is not fun to interact with, and especially with Despia and branded and Bestial is getting more support in Cyberstorm Access, that deck is gonna be running rampant. Don't really want to have being able to every round just like, oh, brand expulsion, here's your Ross Disciple, or brand expulsion, here's your Gimmick Puppet.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be as much of an issue if it was just like one card that was being horribly abused by this. For example, let's say it's probably a terrible example. Let's bring up Halky Fibrex, right? It got so many tuners banned. Before Konami was like, okay, cool. No, now we see the problem, and it finally got rid of Halky. Now we're getting all these tuners back. It would be a similar situation if they want to go ahead and ban Gimmick Puppet and ban DD Orthros and then ban Ross Disciple, which makes no sense. because it's
Yeah, 'cause it's hurt their
inherently,
butt.
like, indirectly screwing over all those people who want to play their god card decks and need Ra's Disciple or want to play Gimmick Puppet or whatever, if to keep this one card. But I think that this card, and you reminded me as well that it came out in Power of the Elements, so it's been around for some time, and I think it's just at its peak toxicity right now, to the point where it's making it literally unplayable, and you literally cannot do a single thing the second it goes. Also, a big hint that, well, we know Branded Despia is gonna get hit. That's a guarantee with the OTS reprints. And I'm saying that because, of course, each and every single OTS reprint that you see regarding Archetype, it is most likely, rather than
Usually
not, meaning that something is gonna get hit. Sprite Blue got reprinted, Sprite Elf got banned. Tearlament, the man,
Rhinoheart, the man, the guy,
the guy in the archetype with Rhinoheart, right?
Yeah.
He got ulti. Everything else went to shit.
This one. Or as the others got the hollows, like the comms got hollows, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna need 3 of those. Nah, you only need 1 of those.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just a guarantee that Branded Expulsion is gonna get hit. I don't believe Branded needs to get hit any more than that, realistically, because it still bottlenecks at Branded Fusion, making it extremely weak in that spot. And it's still, I don't know. I mean, besides Branded Expulsion, I really don't see anything wrong with Branded. What do you think?
You can technically limit Branded Opening and Branded Fusion. Those are like the you can mirror the OCG and where they have like. So I'll just talk about a few cards right now. But Branded Fusion, Branded Opening, and Sprite Starter, all are cards that can be limited. I can see some potentially, just because for the decks that they're in, they're all consistency pieces that have little to no activation requirement. Even with Branded Opening, pitching a card, you're doing it as an effect, and no one ever hand traps the Branded Opening because you have Branded Fusion, and you just rather hand trap that. But they're all cards that like get their deck, their 1-card combos, and just facilitate more with little to no cost. So the only other 2 cards I can see being hit are Branded Fusion and Branded Opening, because it's like Sebastian said, like you ash the Branded Fusion and you pass turn most of the time. Like a lot of lists now are trying to like mitigate that with like fusion deployment. I've seen Keeper of Dragon cycle, the Keeper of Dragon Magic, the 10 promo that's like discard a card, search poly, playing that and like its diffusion as a way to play around it. Or like last year you had Luxury Gaming with the Predaplant Despia deck, which was like, all right, your Branded Fusion got ashed. Here's all these Predaplant cards that now actually like play through it. Yeah. Those are the only other hits I can see to Despia and Branded, because the deck is very it's very fair and very streamlined, which is a lot of like, this format is very weird in the sense that everything has some semblance of fairness to it, except for Branded Expulsion and the Zone Lock, which is facilitated by Diabolos. So doing any of these limits are like very weird, because it's just like they're not oppressive like Tirashivu was, or toxic like Branded Expulsion Diabolos, but these are options that can be done, especially that way you're not going into another YCS or national season as well, because whatever Banlist for the May is also going to be our format for the NAWCQ. So this list can be very like preventative to make sure that the WCQ is not like a completely like garbage format. But yeah, so we've talked about Despia, we've talked about Kashtira.
I think a good segue would be you mentioned Sprite Starter. We could definitely talk about Sprite a little bit, which it would directly, I would say, lead into Runic as well, which is another deck that needs to be addressed. But let's talk about Sprite for a little bit. You mentioned Sprite Starter. Sprite Elf, of course, no longer a thing. Rip Sprite Elf, unfortunately. I have a little shrine with my Sprite Elves. I'm like, I hope you come back one day.
Every time I pass through my binder, I just do a little IMC button.
Yeah, a little come back to me, please.
Please, I miss this card.
As fellow Sprite players, but besides Sprite Starter, I mean, just let's not talk about Runic yet, right? Besides Sprite Starter, what in Sprite? Because Sprite's just it doesn't seem like a unfair, crazy deck. It's not like it does a lot. It's just very consistent in what it does.
It's the 2023. I almost said 2020. Jesus Christ! It's the 2023 Salmon Grid.
Yes, that's
I
exactly
like
what I
to
was
say.
gonna say. I agree.
Because your blue is your Gazelle, and your starter is your Circle.
Don't say that because blue's gonna get limited.
It could.
Don't
like
do that.
it depends what kind of hits they want this list to be, because you can limit blue, you can limit starter, you can. The only other because the sprite cards are fine. Like sprite isn't doing anything oppressive and crazy right now. Like the worst you have is the new. But that out card is so easy. It's like there's so many outs because people are playing like board breakers.
Yeah.
So like you go like Newman Toad, and then you just go bulk Eclipse, the Toad negate, and then you just like do anything else. You can go special on activate burst, normal Fenrir attack. Like there's so many outs to the Newman Long, and that's not a sprite thing. That is a resolving Swap Frog and then activating double cross thing, which isn't directly affiliated to sprite.
Right. And I think double cross isn't in anyone's radar. Although that is a very good card.
That card is very strong.
It is a very good card. It is not a.
It's not like oh my god, it's not like expulsion.
Yeah, no, it's not even near on that level. No, not at all.
Yeah. So Sprite, I feel like you also need decks like Sprite in the format, just to because it's a good mid-range deck. It has a lot of options.
Yeah, it's versatile.
Yeah, you can also I can see I don't see them doing this because they probably want to lean away, but they can unlimit Ronin, or they can limit Ronin to them, just to give Sprite more help. But especially without having Elf and you still have Spring. I highly doubt they did that. That's also just the old Paleo boy and me wishing to bring back my boy.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, my friend.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. But a guy can dream, right?
Yeah. For sure.
And then you can do stuff to Gigantic, but at that point you're just taking decks out of the format when there's nothing really to supplement. That's the other thing I was talking to Sebastian, because we were talking about before. And the point I was making was it's hard to hit a lot of these decks because there's nothing to replace it with. So what I mean by that is if there was a format a few years ago, this is my popular format to talk about, in 2016, it was right before Invasion Vengeance, when it was Toad, ABC, Metal Clover were the top 3 decks. And right before it was Monarch, Cosmo, and Burning Abyss. And there was this brief month period where there was nothing. There was nothing. People were playing Blue Eyes with the missing cards. People were playing Metaphors without the quick play fusion. People were playing Cosmos with one of each of the ships and one E-Telly. There was nothing good to play. So, but then you had
E-Telly. I forgot.
Yeah, it was one E-Telly.
Yeah,
but you had nothing to replace these outgoing decks for a little bit. So it's very similar here, where you have the Ringo Dragon coming out, which doesn't create a new deck, that just creates a new engine. Same thing with the super heavy stuff. But
that's
you
the
have
Apple Dragon, right?
Apple Dragon. I think it's Ringo. But yeah, that card doesn't bring any new decks. It brings a new base deck, which is Apple Dragon Synchro Spam. And it's an engine you can play in Sword Soul. But Sword Soul's already seeing play, and then every time there's full combo card, the Brave cards come back and make this a weird combo deck anyway. So you're not really bringing or Bode format, where it brought in Sword Soul, Flunder, Despia. What else was in that format? And then you had Battle of Chaos Brigade format Battle of Chaos Brigade creators, Brigade X to the Brave Engine, Punk. The upcoming set, and I don't think any sets going into the WCQ are making anything crazy to as in terms of playability. So you also have to keep that in mind with making the ban list, because you still need decks like Sprite and Despia. You can check them, but you still need them. Otherwise, there's no options.
Yeah, there's definitely no sense killing them, because that would be that'd be just ridiculous. Then we go, what are we doing? We're going back to Sword Soul Despia format.
It's
literally killing everything that has been worked on for the past 6 months, ever since Power of the Elements dropped. Gone.
Well, they killed most of the stuff from Power of the Elements. That's kind of why
everything since then I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
No, it's been very.
Kashtira. What else has come out since then? Other
We had
decks.
yeah, Kashtira, Tearlament, Sprite. We had like random
Rest-
decks getting support. So you have like the Naturia Runic deck, but like the Naturia cards are fine. It's just it's an exemplification of how like broken the Runic cards are with the Simplify engine. Which I guess we can start transitioning to talking about the Runic cards.
Yeah.
My main hit is Fountain. I was talking to Sebastian about hitting Tip before, but I feel like you have the one Fountain, then like you can leave everything else at 3.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely agree. I mean, limiting Fountain is definitely gonna be the best course of action. I think the best way to hit it. Just because I mean, hitting Tip or even hitting any of the other ones, like I think some of them, if I'm not mistaken, Tip, Flashing Fire, and another one in Master Duel, they're semi-limited, and it just feels very, very awkward. Like it doesn't make sense. I don't like it. But if you have everything at 3, and you have Runic Fountain at 1, it makes it so it can still be played. You can still maybe make like a beat cop and protect the Runic Fountain, things like that, or pseudo space.
Like
it's possible, But yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think Runic Fountain going to 1 is very, very possible. I think we've clearly seen that because I think Runic was mixed in the YCSs with Sprite.
There was like Naturia, not Flunder, for hire.
Exactly.
There's even been Kashtira sorts, not Kashtira.
Kashtira Runic.
No, Kashtira Runic. I've seen lists of Sword Runic. Like that engine in itself, like the Runic engine is very fair in the sense of like since you can't enter battle phase, you kind of sit there forever because you can't, if you don't activate your broken cards, you can't progress the game. So there's a problem with that's their problem. Like they have a very good setback. You can activate these very broken cards and get this very recursive engine.
It's good design.
You can just never attack, which is I feel like is perfectly fine. But the Fountain being able for every turn to draw 2 to 3 cards is great. You're able to crack their board and then draw 3 cards. Like that seems very, very little suspect. And just having access to 1 makes it so that way you can still search it and it's still accessible, and you still have cards like Gary to get it back if it gets destroyed, and then if you get evenly matched, you're kind of forced to keep it. Yeah, like I was taught. My friend was testing Materia Runic, and like that was something that came up. Like I dusted him, and then he went, "That's fine." Next turn, I didn't make anything to play into the fountain. And he just goes, "All right, spell summon, add back Gary, activate spell field." So I'm like, "Oh, oops."
Oh, so you can play it.
Yeah. so you can play the game. Oops, I fucked up. I made it oopsie. And then the other card that I have that can kind of go with that is it's not the Runic deck, but it's just limiting right of Aramusia. Because again, I was talking about how like every few months we get like a new adventure pile. I feel like you have the one right that you can get infinitely with your enchantress, and you just like that's just some hit to the engine that's kind of like very overdone or over what's it called? Not too late, but it should have been done a while ago. Doing that now is like a good, very precautionary thing to make sure there's no random synchro pile that's coming in with the Apple Dragon. Which is just my fear that like that's if you hit Kashtira and there's nothing strong to supplement it, you just end up letting the base deck come back, which I think was actually one of the worst decks you ever had as a playable thing in recent memory, because it wasn't a deck, it was just piles of broken cards that shouldn't have been around together, slapped together. Because you had the Brave cards with Chaos Ruler, with the Punk cards, you had the DPE engine with Verte, with Hauk. Like that pile was just not a very fun interactive deck to play around. And I'm scared that the Apple Dragon is gonna to create another one of these decks, and I think you should like limit right. You just kind of take care of that entirely. And like it's not seeing a lot of play. That engine is not very like fun to interact with when it is seeing play.
I don't know. I don't even think I even really saw much of it, which is surprising recently. Because I know it won at Adventure Sprite won YCS Peru, And
Yes.
then after
Yeah.
that, in the YCS 250, I thought I was gonna see Adventure Sprite everywhere, but it was nowhere to be found. At least in the feature matches I was watching.
Yeah.
And it was mainly everyone has shifted from Adventure, shifted directly into the Runic Life Twin Sprite, or the Life Twin Sprite, or whatever variants.
Right. Yeah,
and
it's popular in Euro.
Hmm?
So the Runic Live Twin Sprite deck was more popular in Euro.
Yeah.
I think it had two
Damn,
tops,
Joshua Schmidt.
and another guy. But the other guy did better than Josh, so you gotta give that guy his credit.
Still gotta love Josh. The guy's fucking.
I'm gonna find his name right now because that's gonna bother me.
But I don't know. I don't really see an issue with the adventure stuff right now, just because it's so either in the format or it's completely out of the format. Like it was nowhere to be found for like 3 or 4 months. Like no one saw adventure anything. That's why all the prices of their cards obviously plummeted, things like that. But I don't know.
His name is Vincenzo Orofino. Shout out to him. Vincenzo Orofino is the guy that got.
That's the guy who played the
scene with the Runic Sprite Twin.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Like, I feel like with my thoughts on the potential list is there's cards you can limit, like the OCG have, where everything is a little bit crippled, or you can do how TCG normally does, just stuff at 3 and then eventually ban stuff. Because here's my 2 takes on what's probably gonna happen. Take 1 is a copy OCG and just limit a lot of stuff that's been around for a while. Braided Fusion, Braided Opening, Starter, Runic Fountain, Shangri Era. They do that. Rite of Amnesia. They do that, or they just and then like other bands like Diabolos, Branded Expulsion. But then they just go, all right, cool. All these broken cards, the Starter, Branded Fusion, Braided Opening, you can stay at 3, and we're not gonna touch you. Those I feel like are I'm leaning more towards the second one, where they just do like a few random, a few of the bands, which because like my bands are just like you can take care of the problematic cards and then just leave everything else, or you can you can just like, all right, let's take the problematic cards and then like limit the like actual like stuff. Because my other lists or the other hits I was looking at was like stuff like Zeus, limiting Zeus, like that's something similar they have in the OC. Limiting Red Reboot is like true trap decks.
It's Zeus, which is an interesting one because primarily before Kashtira, everyone would only play it at 1. But again, with the additional support that we keep seeing, specifically, I want to say for Xyz based decks and just the increased viability of Zeus, I think it could snowball into a bit of an issue down the line. So I definitely agree with limiting Zeus. I mean, a lot of people would look at this and think, why would they limit Zeus? That makes no sense. But okay, fine, whatever. And they think it may not be like a big hit, but it's so precautionary that I think it's a smart hit. Just like, to play it safe.
Yeah, it's like I see it very similar to like how they banned Elf. Elf was a problematic card that was going to be banned eventually. But a lot of the people like I spoke to were just like, it was very, instead of slap on the wrist, it was throw them into the pool kind of thing. Where they were just like, this card's gonna be a problem, and rather than just like limiting it to where you have the 1 Elf as a power play, they banned it outright. Zeus is one of those cards that like when it's seeing play, it's very, very strong. Like we have the new Tower Knight support coming in Cyberstorm Access. You the Kashtira deck being an XYZ based deck. You have any decks just being able to like any decks that can facilitate rank 4s can play Zeus. Like I remember like 2 years ago when Sorto came out, there were lists that played Baguska and Zeus. Baguska just to play Zeus in a synchro deck that can't only summon synchros on worms at the time. So I think like limiting Zeus, and that goes well if you ban, because the reason most people have been switching to 2 Zeus is because of Mindhacker and Unicorn. So if you ban or if you limit or if you ban Mindhacker, you can just limit the Zeus and there's really no problem.
And just call it a day.
Yeah, and you just like don't care. And then the other card I was talking about was Red Reboot, because trap decks suck.
Okay, Red Reboot to what? 1, 2, or 3?
1. It's like because if you have it at 3, you can never play a trap deck. So it's like there's the pros and cons. If you put Red Reboot at 3 or even 2, or 2, I hate the semi-limited list for context. Like I absolutely hate semi-limited. I think there's no point putting a card to 2. I think Malicious is the only card that makes sense to be at 2, because if you have 3 of it, you get 3 or 2 to 3 bodies. So Malicious being at 2 makes sense because you're still able to use the card. But everything else that's 2 makes absolutely no sense.
Right. 1 is 2 Luxaki, and 3 is like
it Wrestle Starling could be at 3, won't do anything. Pot Desires at 3, won't do anything.
Which needs to come back to 3. 2. I don't understand why it's.
Like,
I'm
those
talking about
cards, Desires. Yeah, like most people when they played Desires would play 2. You have it at 2. Giving the ability to play the 3rd is not gonna change it. Like people are gonna play 2.
It's not like Grand Maju is gonna,
Yeah. Oh no! Head-to-head battles is gonna have 3rd Pot of Desires. Oh no! Like it's not that deep. Yeah, like these, I hate the semi-limited stuff, so I would just take all those, put that to 3. But yeah, so you have it at 1 as it's a power play, and if they aren't able to OTK you, which certain decks are not able to OTK, especially if they're trying to be like, because you removing, it's like people's argument is the ability to not play trap cards is very oppressive, but like you have cards like Evenly, Anti-Magic Arrows, Denko Seka, Jinzo. Like some of these cards are very random, but these are cards that can be in the format.
Yeah.
And so like having these trap decks that are never fun to interact with, and it's never an enjoyable game when your opponent wins a dice roll and you have like your anti-combo deck, and they go, actually normal Ariana, search card, set 4. Like it's never a fun interaction. Or if your opponent goes normal Malusi, link it to Linkreeble, search multi-fake, set 3 packs. Like, it's never a fun time playing in trap deck. So I feel like if you have the 1 Red Reboot as like the power card to help you beat these decks, I feel like that's more than fine. Especially when you have the 1 Red Reboot to Solemn Judgment, or the 1 Red Reboot to like cards like Wiretap, cards like 7 tools that trap decks were teching at some point to deal with the the Red Reboot.
Yeah.
So like
even
that's another
Solemn Judgment or something like that.
Yeah, like if I'm playing a trap deck, I have Solemn Judgment beats my, like I have the feeling that every trap player starts with Solemn Judgment and 4 cards. So like the Red Reboot, we're having access to the Red Reboot, especially because literally, oh my god, you know how many times I've gone like Hollow Phase, activate Evenly, and Judgment every single time. Like I played against Trap Trick last week, and I think that was the first time my Evenly did not get Judgmented.
Yeah, we don't play. I say we, like I speak for all Trap Tricks players, but
we as the community do not
Trap
play
Tricks
Judgment
players.
Like,
no, we don't play Judgment.
That was weird.
Not in the main anyway.
League. No, it was game 2. It was game 2.
But I'm also, didn't have it.
I was also savage in maining evenly. I'm not gonna talk about the spice right now. The goo, as like some would like to call it. But yeah, no. So I think like having like Evenly is a power card against these trap decks, because you get to activate Evenly, and it puts you like, I'd rather get Red Rebooted and have the chance to live than Evenly, and I just have no cards.
Yeah, no,
I'm not limiting.
The second you see Evenly and you're playing a trap deck, you just next game.
Yeah, like
you lose
like clench,
so much advantage that there's just no point in continuing.
Yeah, like I'd much rather have Red Reboot. Like,
so at that point, why would you want Red Reboot when Evenly match is already infinitely better?
Because Red Reboot just stops the traps outright. Like the only counterplay to Red Reboot is Judgment, versus Evenly has more counterplay, which is why it's banned. But this is just also me talking from a place of just like, I am traumatized by trap decks as a reformed trap player, and I'm tired of dealing with it. I'd much rather just activate my Reboot and care about my day. I'm also tired of getting deburied, but again, these are cards that like will just come in and out of depending on.
So speaking about trap cards, I've actually heard some people want Eradicator Epidemic Virus to
ban.
get the ban treatment
That's fair.
or limiting.
Like, that's fair. I think limited is fine. Because you can't trap trick it, which is like the main thing. Because
but you can set it with Griffin.
But like no, but you don't have curious.
That's right.
So like that's so the main issue with a lot of like power cards or power traps is that they are trap trickable. Like that's why Metaverse Metaverse was at 1 for the longest, because you could trap trick into Metaverse into Mystic. So it gave every deck or every Mind deck 6 copies of Mystic Mind.
I forgot Mystic Mind was a card.
Yeah, I forgot it wasn't banned. That's a very funny side story. But I forgot Mystic Mind was banned, and I was just like, wait, why aren't people playing Mystic Mind format? And I'm like, oh, it's banned.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, so it's the fact that it's trap trickable. So that means you can play 3 to 6 copies of it, and you can play 5 copies of it with only playing 3 cards. Like that's what's crazy, because you can play 2 Eradicator and a trap trick, and that's basically 5 copies, because you have I'm sorry, yeah, that's 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 copies with only playing 2 with 3 cards, but they're slotted across different.
So you would agree that Eradicator Epidemic Virus needs to be hit?
It can be. Yeah, I think it's like very to set up most of the decks that can support it. I think there's only like 2 to 3. I think Labyrinth and Sprite, and like technically Despia are the only decks, and like technically every deck has like a combo where they can just end on a random big dark monster and flip Eradicator. But I think it's only prevalent in like 2 to 3 decks right now. I would say like Sprite, because they can make a 3200 Gigantic, and then Labyrinth with the 3K Big Mommy, as my friends used to call her, the big goth mommy. Those are like the only 2 decks that, like, especially with Trap Trick or Labyrinth search trap cards, is like really prevalent. But like that card is like never, when your opponent goes like, all right, Standby Phase Tribute, it's never like a fun card. So like I can see it maybe doing a limit, that way you keep it in the format, but you don't make it trap trickable, which would like just defeat the purpose of putting it at 2. Because if you put it at 2, you just play a trap trick, problem solved. Yeah,
that makes sense. I didn't consider the fact that it'd be trap trickable if it was still at 2. That makes a lot of sense.
And then you have the new trap card that's gonna come out soon. That's like destroy a card you control, and then set a trap, something like, or destroy a monster control. I forgot what it's called, but it's a new trap trick.
Destroy a card you control, set a trap.
It's like
I know we got a new bottomless.
Oh yes, that I do know we have that.
Which I'm very excited for. As and I'll probably start playing Trap Trick again the second that card comes out, because that's pretty busted.
More traps. I can't find it right now, but gotcha. I know it's a what? Nope, that's not it. But yeah, there's a new card that's gonna be coming out like the next 2 sets. It's destroy a card you control and set a normal trap. So it's also, the other thing about that makes that spooky is everything is trap trick, for lack of a better term, trap trickable, because you don't have to play the extra copy. So that might be a problem going forward, but I like the current moment without that card even existing. I still think you just play like the 1, or putting normal trap cards to 1 is fine. Like E-Barrier, like another problematic trap card that comes in and out of formats, that can go to 1.
Eradicator is gonna get touched though.
I don't think so either, but I'm just saying, like, these like archetypal cards,
like if you were to see it, you'd be like, okay,
like can be put to 1 because they aren't you at that point. They aren't trap trickable, and they're just Saki 1-ofs, which Yu-Gi-Oh's had for years. Yeah. Then what other? I think I have my one ban that I don't even think is prevalent bringing up. Or we can talk about that. It was
banning Baron.
That is the only thing that like I think could be done. Not necessarily that they will do it, but that they could be
Which
done.
one?
Banning Baron.
Okay, so, that's the one we disagreed on.
Yeah, that's the one we disagreed on. And this is someone that's played Sword Soul from the day Bo dropped. That card is crazy. And I think that's a part of my preemptive hitting of like Apple Dragon Synchro Spam cards. So like that goes with the limiting of right of like that card being a a very low investment, because level 10 synchro sounds very like, oh my god, 10. I have to make like, I probably have to commit like 4 cards to summon it. That card at most takes 2 to 3 cards at worst. Most decks that play Baron only need to invest 1 to 2 cards to actually summon it.
True.
And then with the Apple Dragon coming out, if there's gonna be cards that it's a 1 card Baron, I think with the new Super Heavy Samurai stuff, that is also a 1 to 2 card Baron engine, not a deck, an engine. So that's my one thing, my one gripe with it. I don't think they'll do it. It'd be hilarious. I would never be able to play Sword Soul again.
No,
that's a lie. I definitely will do it. I will play Sword Soul until like they ban Moye.
Yeah, you just run right into my fat Nibiru. But besides that, no. Listen, I respect your opinion. You know I do. However, well, I get what you're trying to say with the synchro spam decks that are potentially and likely and will most likely, I think it's easy to say, happen. A second Apple Dragon drops into the format. Baron, I don't think it's ever gonna get banned. It's just because it's not like an Omni Negate each and every single turn. What I do see them doing is limiting the card. Again, everyone's pretty much already playing it at 1, but I think the biggest issue is just being able to spam a whole bunch of Barons. That's where the concern lies, right? So if we can agree to limit the card, I think it would still be fair enough to go ahead and play. You can still play your Sword Soul, because realistically, that's the only card currently that plays Baron consistently. Each and every single extra deck you're gonna see with Sword Soul will have Baron, unless the guy forgot it at home.
Well, it's Sword Soul and it's Fury Runic are like the two like Baron decks, and then there's like certain tier decks can play it. But the other thing is with the new the Bestial support with the new synchros coming out in Cyberstorm Axis, I don't know if there's gonna be stuff to like promote playing level 10s and decks like certain engines. Let me see if I can find the card really.
Because if it's an issue of it being too splashable, then it goes back to, well, Zeus is in every single extra deck as well. Yeah. And I think we both agreed earlier that Zeus is a limitable card, but it's not a bannable card. Where if Baron and Zeus fall into the same category as they're just one-ups in the extra deck that are played in every extra deck because they're both fantastic and very splashable, then I think limiting them should be enough.
Yeah. Oh. What's it called? So the other, that's a level 12. Never mind. I was thinking of another. Because there's the Despian Lulu Walu. It's the Fleur-de-Lis synchro that comes out in the next day. I thought it was a level, so I thought that was something else. But then there's the Bestial synchro. That's actually. I don't know. I just feel like Baron's a very strong card. I can see it at some point in time. It's a great card. Getting banned.
It's a great card. It was definitely deserving of its original price point of like $100 some.
Yeah, that CR should not be $300. That one I'm fighting. That is a $300 CR.
Okay, we can disagree on that one. Yeah, yes.
No, we can agree on. We
can agree to disagree with the market on that.
Yeah. But, oh my god.
But I think we've spoken for quite a bit some time about some cards that we are expecting to already be on the ban list. We're expecting to either come off or move from the ban list. But let's go ahead and take a second. We get one card to take off the ban list. We can put it at 1, we can put it at 2, we can put it at 3. One card that's currently banned. What's that card?
Mew. Easily.
Mew? 1, 2, or 3?
3. If I'm doing it, I'm going balls to the wall. Nah, like that. You could put it at 1. It's fine. It's like fine now.
Yeah.
But
no, I think you and I were talking about this earlier as well. I think Prankets should be allowed back in the format. I think at 1 wouldn't be that bad.
Like that deck.
I probably get roasted for that one.
Yeah, no, without Verte, like people were talking about like the double Butler, but like without DPE and like Verte in the format, if you do not draw a Brave card, which happened so often in the Prinket deck, you just fold to Nibiru every single time.
Yeah.
And the only time the Prinket deck got actually just like crazy out of hand was when people were playing Verte DPE. that's when the deck got like super out of hand, not fun, blah blah blah. So if you were to like limit Meow Meow again, I feel like the deck is perfectly fine, perfectly fair. Because all people have to contend with is a Butler, but like hear me out.
No matter what you do with your hand, you are playing into Nibiru. It's not a choice.
Yeah, like every like because you people will talk about like you had the way to the poly double toad, but like or the poly 2 kids. That means you have to draw 3 of and then 2 specific non-water print kids. So like,
yeah,
that you never went. If you went activate poly, summon 2 kids, like you were just winning that game. You know, like. But then there's a lot of bad hands you can draw with that, where it's just like 4 kids, and you're just like, normal effect Ash pass, like like that is perfectly fine without DP. So I put it at 3. I put it at 1 because I only have 1 9, but 3 would have my heart.
I can see it being a 3. Honestly, I can see it being a 3. It'd be interesting seeing Prankit come back. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think a lot of people are gonna again hate on this idea of us, but let us know what y'all think in the comment section down below.
What about you? With your you can do Trickster's at full power, so I actually don't know which you'd want to unban.
Oh, Masterpiece to 3. I want the world to burn.
Who hurt you?
I want the world to burn. I want to play Masterpiece to 3. And if Ford were here, I know he would want Master Plan back. So
yes, Ford will want Master Plan. Indeed.
We'll put his honorary mention in. So there you go. Little master plan next to my masterpiece.
No, next to my prank kid. Hold up, we have some. What's with the prank kid? Oh, hold up.
But it's been a lot of fun, man. I think we've spoken a lot about the Banlist, what we think is going to happen, and everything like that. I don't really think we missed out on anything. I pretty much believe that we hit on each and every single one of the top tier decks, guys. But each and every single one of the top tier cards, I also want to say, also the most toxic cards in the game that we think that definitely should have to go ahead and either get limited or just go away. Branded Expulsion, I'm looking at you, buddy. Get out of here. You and Mind Hacker. As long as that and Mind Hacker get the step in, get the boot, I'm cool with it. And everything else,
you'll see me at YCS Philly.
Exactly. There you go.
My words.
But let us know what you guys think in the comment section, I should say, down below. Regarding what cards we may have missed, if we overlooked anything, let us know in the comment section down below. Also, feel free to roast me on my Masterpiece thing, or if any true Draco lovers out there, let me know as well, because I need some support. But other than that, guys, let me know in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you guys did enjoy, subscribe for more, and we'll see you guys in the next one.